Namaste. Welcome to the Everyday Thought from the Speaker's Yoga Diary, Volume 2, Day 81. This video is a continuation of the previous two videos, 79 and 80, in which the speaker has explained what is being spiritual. This video is a part 3 of that aspect which we are now discussing. What is being spiritual? In the earlier two videos, the speaker has identified 6 principles. The speaker hopes that the listeners or viewers have understood this most difficult and often misunderstood word, spiritual. Another principle in being spiritual is how to minimize the effect of the self within the quote. We cannot eliminate the self. Without the self, we cannot live in this world. So we need the self to survive in this world. Please note the speaker is using the word survival only for the sake of survival, only for the sake of surviving in this world. We need the self. We need the I. The I here serves the function of identification. We need that identification to live in this world. Only for the sake of survival, not for anything else. Beyond survival principle, the I becomes useless. It is of no use for us. In other words, beyond the survival principle, the I becomes bigger and bigger, and it is harmful to us. It is this bigger I which is dangerous and harmful to us. And therefore, we need to distinguish these two forms of self or I. The one form of self is used for identification to live in this world, in this physical world. There is another self. This is petty self, but very big in dimension, which is harmful to us. What we are doing every day, we are accumulating the second form of self, that is the self that goes beyond the principle of survival, beyond the principle of identification in this physical world. The speaker hopes that the listeners are following this. Once again, the speaker is explaining the two forms of self. The first self is essential for survival in this physical world. We need I to live in this world. There is another form of self which is bigger than the first form of self, and that is harmful to us. We need to if minimize the effect of that bigger self. We need to exercise a lot of attention, okay, to see that this bigger self does not blow itself. It should not acquire its huge dimension. But we are adding more and more to this. And therefore, the second form of self is expanding, enlarging. It is that form of self which is coming into conflict with the other's self, the same self. If we allow the second form of self, not the first one, which is essential for survival in this world, is coming in the way of being spiritual. Or when the speaker says that be spiritual, what the listeners need to note is that they should constantly be vigilant about this second form of self. How to do it? But there is no how within the quote. Because the moment we ask ourselves how, then the problem arises. We look for this technique or that technique, this method or that method, this approach or that approach. And we run here and there. We run to this guru or that guru to seek the ways, the methods. But all such techniques, such methods, such approaches, such seeking guru, such becoming panic will not help us here. Because whenever we talk something, whenever we deal with something, we are always concerned with the word how. The speaker is not interested in this word how, because this how is creating more problems. It is a problematic word because the how deals with the method, approach, technique, and each one of us has his or her own method or approach or technique. Some guru gives some technique, some text gives some approach, some institution conveys the method, and we think such technique, such approach, such method is the ultimate, is real, is true. And therefore, we have many methods, many approaches, many techniques. Each one thinks what he or she is following is right. Therefore, this how is problematic in that sense. The speaker says, let's not worry about this word how to deal with this second form of self. The speaker wants to emphasize that let's first accept that there is a self. There is a self that's being nurtured constantly by us. It is growing every day. It is accumulating. We are adding more and more to this self. Do we accept this? We need to accept this first. The speaker has always been emphasizing in his talks that let's first accept the situation, the condition, the state, without contradicting it, without questioning it, without trying to find ways to escape from that. And in fact, in one of his previous talks on this particular topic, what is being spiritual, I, I, the, it is the first talk, part one. The speaker has said that the first principle of being spiritual is to accept that you are self-centric, accept that you are selfish. Your selfishness is growing. Accept that. There is a self that lives within you. Accept that. But we don't want to accept it. We always try to defend ourselves. We always enter into debate, argument with others, saying that I don't have self. I am selfless. It is nonsense. By saying you're not going to be spiritual, on the other, you're becoming more and more selfish. You're asserting yourself. We are telling the public that here is a person who is selfless, which means that who is very selfish. And this is the way how we are living in this world, constantly saying that I don't have self, I'm free from the self, I'm selfless, and so on. In fact, the one who is selfless will never admit that he is selfless. Only the selfish will always say that I'm selfless. So, therefore, we need to first accept this, that we are selfish, we are self centric, and we are nurturing the self in us, and it is growing bigger and bigger in us. It is this self that is coming in our way, in our growth, in our development. It is this self that is coming into conflict with the other self. It is this self that is causing lot of confusion and problems. Therefore, we need to tackle this second form of self. But as the speaker has said, there is no how. Accept it first. The moment you accept it, then you will see a difference in your living. The moment you recognize that you are selfish, you will discover something new is coming out from you, within you. Some kind of change is taking place, and you will become extra vigilant, and you will see that that second form of self in you will not grow further. You become very alert. You develop a total awareness, consciousness of that second form of self, and you will not allow it to grow further. This is what the speaker is trying to say when he says that there is no how, because how always deals with the technique and method. You will follow the technique for some time and you will get tired of it and you will give it up. And once again, you come back to the same. Therefore, first admit that you are selfish. This is what you need to know in being spiritual. When you admit that you are selfish, that I am selfish, I'm basically selfish, and this self is growing in me, and this self is causing me confusion, problems, troubles. This self is making me violent and noisy. This self is creating all problems in the world, in human relations, in every aspect of a human living. Then you will see there is a tremendous change taking place in you. Then you'll develop that awareness. This awareness is essential. This awareness is what is needed. And this awareness makes you more spiritual. And this is what being spiritual. Being spiritual means you become more conscious, you become more alert, you become more awareness. You develop more awareness. When you become more conscious, when you develop awareness in you, then you will not allow all these petty things to come and grow within you. This way, the second form of yourself can be arrested. This is not a method. The speaker is not saying that this is a method. There is no method involved in it. There is no technique involved in it. The speaker is not giving any technique here. The speaker is simply asking you to admit that you are selfish, basically. Do you have that guts to say that you are selfish? Because being selfish is antithetical to being spiritual. Being selfish cannot go with the being spiritual. You cannot be spiritual at the same time you can not be selfish. You can be selfish. Because being spiritual is not allowing the self within you grow, develop, gain its huge dimensions. So there is no technique involved in it. It is simply asking you to accept your condition, your situation, that you are basically selfish. Then you will see a tremendous change taking place within you. Then you will see that such a self within you does not grow, does not gain huge dimensions. There is no need to do any other practice, any other sadhana, but this itself becomes a sadhana. When you become alert, that itself becomes sadhana. When you become aware, that itself becomes sadhana. This sadhana is constant. It's not practiced today and then forgotten tomorrow. It is not something that is postponed every time when we think of it. No, it is a constant awareness. That awareness is there within you every moment. Every moment you become alert. Every moment you become conscious. And therefore, that second form of self will not grow within you. You will not create a space within you for that second form of self to come and stay and grow. Absolutely not. So, this awareness you need to build. This awareness is what is required now. And this awareness will make you spiritual. And this is what is needed in being spiritual. In being spiritual means developing more and more consciousness and awareness of your body, your mind, what is happening within you. Why is it happening? So you become totally an introvert, an insider. You constantly live within you. You become very vigilant within you. And therefore, you become less and less selfish and more selfless. This is what is to be noted and understood in being spiritual. Namaste. Thank you very much for listening with good wishes.